thank you for, spending your precious evening time with us. So just a quick introduction. My name is Kay. I'm from the Immigration People. So I have here with me today two of my colleagues. One of them is Elena. Yeah.
Hi guys.
And another one, okay, I think he is really suitable to actually talk about today's topic, yeah, which is, my colleague. He's also an immigration consultant, Zed.
Hello everyone, good evening.
Yeah, so, today we are really happy to share more about Singapore PR and National Service. So all you need to know about Singapore PR and National Service will be covered in this 1 hour session. We hope to do it in maybe 40 minutes, and we open the floor for Q&A. For those of you who have posted your Q&A questions, rest assured we will address them towards the end of the session. But earlier on, you have watched one of our, successful PR stories. Yeah, we have our YouTube channel. We have launched this successful PR story series, and he has a son, and he mentioned that, he actually, will send the son for a national service. So we'll talk more about it later. So maybe I start off with introducing about the company first. So we are the Immigration People. We have a team of 11 people right now, and we have combined experience of more than 25 years in the industry. Yeah. So for Elena and I, we used to work with ex-ICA officer. So we know a lot about ICA internal process. And it's our mission to bring Singapore closer to all our clients through successful immigration to our country. Yeah, so I will have Zed, who have been there, done that, to talk more about, NS National Service. Thanks, Zed.
So good evening everyone. So I'll share with you guys about my national service experience, so that I hope I can answer some of your questions. So first I'll share with you guys about the national service obligations. So who is required to serve national service? Very simple. It's anyone that is any male Singapore citizens or PR will be required to serve NS once they reach 18. So includes those that are previously Singapore citizens or PRs, or those who gain their PR status through as a foreign student or under their parents' sponsorship. But not to worry, for those who got it with their PTS, scheme professional technical personnel skilled worker, they will not be required to serve. Only the second generation will be required. Okay, can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you guys, when is your child required to register for national service? So once your son reached the age of around 16 and a half years old, he'll be required to register for national service. And it'll be deemed as an offense, let's say, if they fail to register. So one of the most important things that they will do after registration will be to conduct a medical examination to decide if your child is deemed unfit for national service and would it be exempted or not, which I'll share with you guys more in details in the further slides. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you guys about the national service experience and how is it like. Okay, so the first is your son will be posted to either the Army, Singapore Armed Forces, the police, or the Civil Defence Force. Okay, next point. Okay, all right, so the first thing for the national service will be the basic military training, which is about 2 to 4 months, where they learn how to march, handle a rifle, and physical training. So not to worry, for these 2 to 4 months, they're still able to book up and come home every weekend, okay? So after that, they'll be posted to one designated vocation. So for example, for the Army, Singapore Armed Forces, to be posted to like the signals, infantry, or even the medic. Okay, so after completing the 2 years national service, there'll be something called as a reservist, where they can serve up to 40 days per year, up to 40 days per year. But on average, right, it's about they record once per year over a 1 to 2 weeks period. So other than the reservist, even after they complete a national service, they need to do the IPPT, which is the physical training on an annual basis, and they need to complete it before their birthday. So for IPPT, physical training, it consists of the push-ups, push-up, and physical run. And of course, the good thing is there's a monetary incentive for them once they hit there's a target for them to hit. Okay, so for this IPPT, they need to do it every year until they reach the age of 40 or when they complete their reservice. So let's say if your son chooses to give up their Singapore citizenship or PR status, they will only need to complete the 2 years of national service and does not need to go through reservice. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you guys is answer the question of is a child liable to serve national service if he hasn't lived in Singapore for most of his life? So we actually have two case studies over here to answer the question. So for the first case study, we actually have a Singapore-born author, Calvin Kwan. Okay, he migrated to the United States with his family at the age of 11. However, he stayed overseas without a valid exit permit and did not register for national service, making him liable for defaulting on national service. Okay, similar to for the first case, for the second one is an engineer, Ikawit, who was born and raised in Thailand. Okay, but his mom actually registered him as a Singapore citizen when he's 1 year old, even though the family had moved to Thailand before he was born. So both of these case studies, they are still liable for national service because they have benefited from his Singapore citizenship. So for example, for Ikawit, all right, he's the example of him benefiting from his Singapore citizenship is because he has used his passport to travel for one occasion. Yeah, so I think we have a question over there. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you guys what are the options available if, let's say, if they wish to delay or be exempted from national service. So there are three ways. First is actually deferment, which is the postponing of the enlistment date. Okay, so there are three common factors for deferment. The most common one is academics, meaning to say, because they are pursuing an A-level certificate or a local polytechnic diploma, or they're exceptional in arts and sports, representing Singapore national team for competitions, they're able to postpone their enlistment date. So next thing is disruption, meaning to say they wish to interrupt their national service midway to pursue their studies. So there are two schemes for this. First is actually the local medical disruption scheme, meaning to say if your son is selected for undergraduate medical studies locally, or they actually have a scholarship, overseas scholarship included, they're able to disrupt their national service midway to pursue their studies. However, they will still required to serve their remaining months, maybe during their school holidays, to complete the full 2 years. Last but not least is exemption, meaning to say they are fully discharged for serving national service. So there are only two ways for this exemption. It's based on their medical checkup, such as, for example, they have permanent physical disabilities or severe mental conditions. But let's say if they are actually unfit for physical duties, the Singapore government might still post him to a non-physical position, because the clerk or the storeman. They need to serve the full 2 years. Yep. Next slide, please. Okay. So now I'm going to share with you what I mentioned earlier. The most common deferment is actually for medical purposes. Because for most Singaporean males, for most males in Singapore at the age of 16 to 17 years old, they are currently still studying. Most of them are just completing their O-levels and deciding to pursue an A-level or polytechnic diploma. Okay, so it's why they actually be able to exempt from this. They will be able to defer for this national service. However, for degree courses such as university, they will not be able to defer. Next slide. Okay, so for re-announcing of permanent resident status, okay. So let's say we recommend them to complete a national service first before re-announcing their PR status. Reason is because, let's say, if they lose their PR status before serving or completing a national service, it might affect their future. If they wish to come to Singapore to work, study, or live, apply for citizenship or PR status, or even for renewal or re-entry permits. Yep, thank you.
All right, good. Actually, right, I would like to add on the reason why we only share academic purpose, for deferment, because the rest, right, is actually very tough. In fact, right, let's talk about the sports. From year 2003 until now, right, there's only 3 people actually successfully apply for deferment, and one of it is Joseph Schooling. And I'm sure that you guys know about this footballer, which is Ben Davis. Yeah, so he is actually right now playing for Fulham. Yeah, and then he has no plan to return to Singapore. And the reason why he is not granted deferment is because if you look at the criteria earlier, right, he's not playing for Singapore. Right, so Joseph Schooling is representing Singapore, so that makes him actually eligible to apply for deferment. So what I'm trying to share is that the conclusion is, deferment, actually it is very tough, yeah, unless it's for academic purpose. And like what Zed said earlier, okay, there's only a few criteria. If let's say your son is already pursuing tertiary education and you can't apply for deferment. Yeah, and I saw some of the question is asking about about the NS liability. Rest assured, we will actually address them towards the end of the session. Now, we would like to proceed more to talk about PR applications, yeah, because I believe that you guys are here also partly because you guys are keen to apply for PR. That's why you want to understand more, yeah, about national service and PR application as well. I would like to hand the floor over to Elena and she will cover some of the slides.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Zed, for sharing the NS information. I think it's really very informative for the audiences here today. So let's try something different for PR application. Let us have a guess, let's put the questions to the floor. How many PR applications are being filed every year to the immigration authorities? So you can use the chat box, and share your answers. Don't worry, there's no penalty if you were to answer wrongly. All right, so let's have a little bit more interactions with the crowd today. So would you guys want to leave your answers in the chat box? If no, 100,000. All right, Susan, thank you so much. Anyone else would like to make a guess? Edward, 5,000. Wow. Okay, 5,000. It's quite little actually. All right, let us review the answer. It's actually 100,000 foreigners submitting application for PR and 60,000 PRs applying for citizenship every year. All right, so it's quite a sizable number. Shall we make a guess on the approvals then? All right, so here we have the answers already. Actually, it's about 30,000 new PRs will be granted with 22,000 new citizens approved every year. All right, so we're looking at about 33.333% for each of the applications. So it is still quite competitive. But how is the current immigration landscape like right now? The Singapore government actually tightened our immigration framework back in 2009. So some of you here who have lived in Singapore long enough, or you probably would have heard from your colleagues, your peers, that back then, back in the past, 2008 and before, it used to be very easy to get your PR, which is true. Back then, the government has a lot more looser regulations, not like now. All right, so this is why ever since 2009, there's higher and higher number of rejections because Singapore also grew to become a more developed, country with very attractive qualities that attracted a lot of foreign talents who wants to stay here for the long term. So we see an increase in the number of foreigners who want to stay here permanently, but the number of new PRs and citizens being issued out are being kept very limited. All right, so next slide, please. How about the current situation with COVID-19? So as you know, COVID hit us in early 2020. So it's about, 1.5 years since we've been living with COVID. And I hope all of you here tonight have already been vaccinated, taken your second dose. All right. So as of last year, right, in 2020, as reported in the Straits Times, there's about 182,000, okay, if I were to round up, 182,000 jobs lost by non-residents. So who are non-residents? Non-residents refers to anyone who's not a citizen or a PR in Singapore. So you can see it is actually a very huge impact on our economy. And the number of PRs and citizens approved over the past 10 years is actually shown in this graph here. So if you guys are on EPS Pass, you may want to actually focus on the blue graph, which shows the total number of PRs granted since 2009. And as mentioned earlier, the government tightened our immigration framework in late 2009, which is why there's a sharp decrease in our total number of PR approved by more than 50% in the following year. So ever since 2010, the number of PRs approved every year has been kept pretty consistent at average 30,000 per year. All right, but of course there is a slight dip last year in 2020, okay, from 33,000 to 27,500. Why? It's not because the government is approving lesser PRs, but rather there's a very good number of PR applicants who were stranded overseas. And as you know, in 2020, the border restrictions were a lot tighter compared to now, whereby we have the vaccinated travel lanes. So a lot of applicants who received in principle approval for their PR application, they were unable to return back to Singapore in time to complete the formalities. In fact, right, we also have, our own clients having to delay, having asked to actually request for extending their in principle approval formalities. Yeah, so some of our clients, they even decide not to complete the formalities and just want to go home. So it's actually not the government approving lesser PRs, but rather a lot of people decided not to or can't come back to complete the formalities in time. All right. So moving on. Let us take a look at, what are the more commonly made mistakes? Even though there's 100,000 applicants a year, 30,000 approvals, but do you know that, a good 30% of these 100,000 applicants, they actually got rejected because of their own mistakes. It's not because they have a very weak profile. In fact, a lot of these applicants who got rejected for their mistakes, right? They are EP holders, they are degree holders as well. So what are some of the more common mistakes? Okay, we can go through here today. First of all, not aware of the high reviewing standards of ICA. I think a lot of people may take documentation work very lightly, but the Singapore government is very finicky when it comes to paperwork requirements. So if you don't submit complete set of documents, if there's discrepancy, in your information, all right, you filled out your application form sloppily, all this can cause rejection. And it is not uncommon for us to find mistakes in our clients' own application forms. Next would be minimal or no social integration efforts. Yeah, do not, undermine the importance of social integration. Social cohesiveness is very important in a small country like Singapore, whereby we have so many different races, ethnicities, religion groups living together. So it's very important to show to the government that you're well integrated into our culture. You can foster the friendships and the bonds with, individuals regardless of their race and religion. The next point would be not aware of government stance with regard to immigration. It's not uncommon for us to hear from our clients saying that, oh, I have no sons to serve, and is that why the government reject me? So we need to know exactly what the government is looking for so we can angle your application properly. Without knowing the government stance, right, you are actually just submitting your application blindly, and you may even lose the main point, not knowing how to present your application. All right. And of course, all these have to be presented by adding on supporting documents. So it is not enough to compete with the rest of the 50,000 applicants with just your birth certificate, your education documents, or your pay slips alone. All right. So it's very important to actually add on supporting documents to further enhance your chances to really set you apart from the rest of your competitors. So that goes for, not being aware of the new or existing policies influencing your PR application, over relying on friends, hearsays, forums, those people who, your friends may say, hey, I did it this way, it worked out for me, I got approved, but it may not necessarily be applicable in your case because remember, there are no two identical profiles in this world. Everyone is different. All right. And of course, now we are in a digital world. So even your PR application, citizenship application, they all have to be submitted online. Okay, and this online application process may take easily 1 to 2 hours. In fact, if you were to apply citizenship, it can take you 4 to 6 hours. All right, and during this process, you may be more prone and susceptible to making mistakes because you get tired, you're unfamiliar with the system, you uploaded the wrong documents. So all these may be a cause of rejection. Last but not least, no post-submission knowledge. If you have watched the video from the very beginning by Dr. Logan, PR is a very cumbersome and long-term process. You may easily wait 6 months, 1 year, or even 2 years for your result in some cases. All right, and during this half a year, 1 year, if there's any change in your profile, in your circumstances, you need to update the immigration authorities, and you cannot assume just because they're the government, they will know everything. All right, so post-submission update is also very important. And we can take a look at, how the government categorizes our approved candidates. So let us focus on the table to our right, okay, which is the 2020 approval. The government segregate the candidates by 3 main categories: age, qualifications, and origins. As you know, Singapore, we have a falling birth rate, aging population, which is why for PRs, we are generally focused on the younger demographics, okay, which are applicants between 25 to 45 for those who are on work classes here. And best is if you apply as a family. All right, this is why you can see the approval for 20 years and below is also relatively high because the government encourages family application. All right, we do not encourage anyone to exclude their kids from the application because it doesn't show the commitment required by the government. Next would be qualifications. Of course, you know, nowadays most people have at least a tertiary qualification, which is like a diploma. So this is why majority of the applicants who got approved have at least a post-secondary qualification. Last but not least, we go by origin. It's very easy if we just look at Singapore's population, our own demographics. We are made up of, you know, the main three ethnicities: the Chinese, the Malay, the Indians, Eurasians, and others. All right. So if you are from a Southeast Asian country, okay, definitely you have a slight age because you're the most similar to us in terms of our culture, our behavior, language, food. So it's easiest for you to integrate, okay, into our society. Next, we followed by other Asians. I see that we have a few South Korean viewers today. So you will also fall under other Asian category, which is about 35%. And for non-Asians, it's about 4%. And it's actually a good increase, about 2% increase from the previous years. All right, this year and last year, we've seen a sizable number of approval for our own Caucasian clients as well. So I'm actually handing over my presentation to Kay, who will finish up today's presentation before we move on to Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Now I've come to a really interesting slide. You know, basically these are the factors that will influence the success of your PR or citizenship applications. So government is gonna look at pretty much the same set of things, but perhaps, you know, for certain factors, it is more important for PR, example, age, yeah, but age is not so important for citizenship application, or integration is more important for citizenship application. Yeah, but it is still important for PR, but not as much actually. So basically, like I mentioned, ICA is going to look at all these factors and they're going to look at it holistically when they are evaluating your applications. So holistically meaning that, you know, perhaps you can't have a property before you get PR, but you can make up with the rest of the factors, you still stand a fairly good chance. One more example, a lot of people thought, oh, okay, just now you were showing that above 40 years old, chances are quite little for PR. But do you know that I have client who is 80 years old got his PR approved? Recently, there's someone 75 years old, and I also have 65 years old client got PR as well. And how is it possible? Like I mentioned, yes, they are unable to check one box, which is the age, but the rest of the factors, they're quite good at it, right? Yeah. So let's talk about age first. Like I mentioned, Elena already shared earlier, actually prime working age in Singapore is between, okay, 25 to 45 years old. So if you're between here, you are quite safe. If let's say you're above, but you have child or children to bring in together in the family application, you still stand a fairly good chance. All right. So this is about age. Huh? Now, because of, you know, if you're in a young age, your period of contribution, yeah, will be very long. So that's the reason why, you know, they would prefer someone who's slightly younger. But like I mentioned, yeah, it's not a must to be very young, because if you're older, you can make up your profile by, you know, maybe higher economic contribution, or, you know, being an expert in your industry. Okay, now next one is family ties. I often ask client two questions. The first one is everyone here in Singapore? The second question is everyone applying together? So by asking this, I would have answered a lot of your questions about what happened if I'm not including my son in the application. So if you're not applying including your son, yeah, the chances will drop quite a lot actually. Yeah. And one thing you have to know about the immigration people is that we are very honest with our client about their chances. So we strongly encourage you to apply with your family. We have seen successful cases whereby client exclude their son in the application and they got approval, and their son normally it's about 18 years old and above. Yeah. They already consider a young adult. And then some of them even studying overseas. Yeah, so they are not even in Singapore and they don't even have a dependent pass anymore. So we have seen successful cases like that. But if let's say your child is young, we do not encourage you to exclude them. Obviously, government wants to give PR to those who they think that will further sink root in Singapore as a family. So they see that you have high level of commitment to Singapore. Now, the third one is industry requirement. This is quite important. For your information, ICA will segregate the quota according to which industry you are in. So good industry are those that align with the country direction. And right now we talk a lot about smart nation, smart city. So anything related to technology, IT, cybersecurity, you're in a good position. All right. But it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm in a good position, I can do my own application, right? Just fill out a very simple forms. I never even write anything on the 3,500 words on the form 4A. Yeah, because I'm in tech, I'm the tech guy, right? Okay. I'm sorry, but it doesn't work, right? Maybe if you're in a better position because of more quotas available in your industry. Example, you just need to be top 30% of your quota, then you get approval, right? But it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm into manufacturing, doesn't mean that, I have no chance. No, it's not true as well. Yeah, if let's say you're not in the, sunrise industry, okay, pretty much sunset industry, you probably have to work harder to squeeze yourself to be the top 3 to 5% example, then you get approval. But what I'm trying to share through this is that Elena and I and the entire team, we have helped a lot of people across different industry to get approval. Every industry, there are definitely quotas available. But if you know that it's very competitive for you, I give you one example, right? Indian in shipping industry. Yeah, if you see one of our successful PR story, one of them is Indian in shipping industry. So shipping is not considered a sunrise industry. Yeah, yet a lot of Indian national are in this industry. The more you need to make your profile more appealing, okay, to actually make yourself stand a really high chance to get approval. And the first time my client applied, he rejected in 1 month. The second time, in about 6 months time, we help him to get approval. Yeah, so this is about industry requirement. Now the next one is social integration. So I saw some of you were asking like how to prove social integration. So one thing that we always encourage clients to do is to do volunteering works, or even you can make some donation as well to give back to the society. So if you participate in this CSR activity from the company itself, it will also help you in your application. However, one thing that we appreciate is consistency. So it's best to do it regularly. All right. Or even, if you decided that, oh, Kay, you were saying that quite a lot of Chinese in Singapore, right? Should I learn Mandarin? Would it help me to integrate better? The answer is yes. However, it's no obligation. All right. Now, next one is property investment. We understand that being an expat, right, you have to pay 20% additional buyer's stamp duty. So it's quite crazy. Yeah, it's not for everyone. So if you do not have any property, it is fine because the immigration people team has helped a lot of people without property. They still can get their PR approved. So it's optional, okay? But if let's say you can afford this 20%, feel free to go ahead, okay? Yeah, it is one of the best way to tell them that you're very committed, that you have already purchased a property in Singapore, right? Now, next one is insurance. So a lot of people are not aware that insurance will help you in your application. How does it help, right? Because you have to understand today, the moment you turn to a Singapore PR, if anything were to happen to you, government have to subsidize you. So government always prefer someone who is well covered because they know that you're not going to be a liability if anything were to happen to you. And if someone has no intention to stay in Singapore for long, honestly, they will not buy any insurance, personal insurance, right? So if you have it, let us know. Yeah, we will add in your application and it will increase your chances. All right. Now, insurance is kind of related to financial investment. So maybe I can talk a bit about financial investment as well. So what I do not like is that every month, example, you earn 20,000 and you put 15,000 back to your home country. You have purchased a property here, you bought a palace at your home country, but you have nothing invested in Singapore. Yeah, so this is not great. Yeah, what we want is the client, to at least have some decent saving here. But besides saving, we also encourage you to invest in Singapore because saving is so liquid, right? Tomorrow, if you want to go back to your home country, that's it. You can withdraw everything and off you go. Yeah, so we will encourage you to do some investment here. Some can be short term, some should be long-term investment because we are trying to show that you have long-term plan in Singapore. All right. Now, next one is endorsement. So, you know, in here, yeah, in the immigration people, we will actually prepare some recommendation letter. It's like a form of recognition that you are a good PR candidate, right? So local Singaporeans of PR to help you to endorse all this letter, talking about how integrated you are, how much you want to actually settle down here with your family. So we will actually help to draft this kind of letter for you. And one thing that we're different from a lot of our competitors is that we like personalization here. We will not just show you a template without talking to you and ask you to use it, tweak it, but we rather talk to you to understand more about this person, the endorser, and your relationship, and then we draft a more personalized letter. Yeah. Now, next one is talent. Like, yeah, actually, if you guys watch sports, yeah, you will know that, you know, we have this national badminton player. His name is Loh Kian Yew. Yeah, so he actually representing Singapore, and he is actually a good friend of mine from Malaysia. So he definitely get his PR and citizenship under unique talent. So actually he was spotted, that he is really good in badminton, and he was placed in a Singapore school, and he got his citizenship fast track as well. Yeah, not 2 years. Yeah. So yeah, talent does help. Yeah, but we are talking about something very competitive. Not that you play badminton better than your neighbor beside you and then you can try to get it. No, all right. Now, next one is financial investment. I already spoken about this, so we appreciate you to have some form of stickiness, yeah, financial stickiness in Singapore, right? Now, next one is educational level. And I'm sure that, you know, a lot of you here, right, are EP holders, and then you have a tertiary qualification. So at least a tertiary qualification, you would have checked the box. However, one thing that we always encourage clients to do is to upskill yourself. Why? Because one thing that ICA love is career progression. So if you have any increment promotion, you also have to let us know, and we want to put up in the application as well. Am I right to say one of the way to achieve career progression is through your upskilling efforts? So if you attend all this kind of additional training, you take up additional certifications, okay, you get promoted, yeah, these are the type of profile that they like. Because bear in mind, you're going to compete with other industry professionals. So you have to tell them, why am I better than other industry professional? Because I've done this certificate, I have got more promotion than him, you know. So this is how you make your profile more appealing, right? Now, next one is professional achievement. So what we want from our client, it's a detailed resume. Your resume should be, you know, capturing your roles and responsibility, your professional achievement as well in your career, so that we can help you to draft a more personalized cover letter, right? So we can highlight, you know, your career, what have you done, and then it will make your profile more appealing, like I mentioned. Right, now, next one is economic contribution. So this is referring to your salary and your tax. Yeah, so, you know, my basic requirements is only 6,000. Yeah. If anything lesser, it's not a very healthy household income, because just think about it, right? MOM rules is that only by earning $6,000 basic salary, then you are able to apply for dependent pass for your family to come into Singapore. Anything below is not very healthy. But of course, the more, the better. Yeah, all right. So these are the top factors that will influence the success of your application. I hope by now you have gotten some tips on how to increase your chances, right? Now I'm gonna, you know, talk to the next topic is the common myth, yeah, pertaining to this PR application. So a lot of people would say Singapore government prefers sons over daughter. It's definitely not true. If you see the 12 factors here, the reason one factor is about the gender of your child. Right, okay, it's not true. Yeah, definitely, I have helped a lot of family with just daughters to get approval. All right, now the second one, you get approved for your Singapore PR by luck. Not true as well. Yeah, ICA is gonna look at the 12 factors. You will need luck to a certain extent, right? Because you need luck in the quota, you need luck to see who's your competitors, right? applying together with you, other industry professional. Yeah, maybe they use the immigration people, Yeah, you need luck to a certain extent, but for you to get there, you have to put up, a lot of additional document. There's certain method that proven it works. Yeah. Now the third and the fourth is pretty similar. The more you pay for your taxes, the higher your chances or your salary determines approval. Is definitely not true. Yeah, you must have heard of it that, some executive earn 3,000 gets approval. Yeah, it's definitely not true. Salary, economic contributions, okay, it's only one of the factors. It is not the deciding factors. Yeah, especially if you're young, right? Okay, your salary is not that important. Okay, of course, they're not going to expect someone who just graduated and they expect them to earn $10,000, $20,000. Doesn't make sense. But if you're progressing, remember, career progression is very important. As you are older, you have to progress in your career. So for older people, yeah, salary contribution has to be higher. Now, next one, if your rejection letter doesn't mention about replying after this many years, means you do not stand a chance. The last thing you want to do is to come to the immigration people and show us your rejection letter and ask me, why am I rejected? I can't tell anything from the rejection letter, right? So for your information, the rejection letter is only a template. It doesn't say anything at all, all right? So stop guessing, based on the rejection letter. Oh, this is a new template. Yeah, it's just a template, all right? Now, last but not least, you will definitely get rejected in your first application as the government determines your sincerity through the number of attempts you make. It's definitely not true as well, yeah? So, first time is actually your best chance because you have no tainted record with ICA. So this is all the common myth, right? Now, how do we help you? We have true immigration knowledge and experience built over many years in this industry. In fact, right, I'm proud to say that the whole team of the immigration people, yeah, we are all experienced. Yeah, we normally do not hire fresh people who has zero knowledge, and the training provided for our new consultant is sufficient. Yeah. Now, next one is that, we are a boutique immigration consultancy firm, which means more personalized attention. So we do not work with everyone. So that is one thing about us. For some client, we'll be very honest with their success. Yeah, in fact, right, I have always turned down some of my clients who insist that they don't want to include their son because I will tell them the chances is very low. Yeah, so this is how we're different. We do select clients. So the third thing is that we have a complimentary profile evaluation, a one-to-one session, which I'm going to offer to everyone here today. Yeah, because now there's many of you. Yeah, I have yet to get to know more about you. So we always offer a complimentary profile evaluation to identify your weakness. We will also tell you a list of supporting documents which can maximize your chances of success. And we have 3 personnel hand holding you throughout the entire process. Yeah, so there will be 3 persons working to a case, but normally you just need to talk to 2 of us. So to ensure communication efficiency. Every document package is personalized. Yeah, we don't like template here. And last but not least, right, we emphasize a lot on post-outcome care and support and post-submission support as well. So that's how we build relationship with the client, and that's how we are the only firm whereby clients are willing to talk to us, do filming, on YouTube channel to talk about their experience working with us. In a short 2 years, we have received multiple awards. So these are the 2 more prominent awards: Best Startup in 2020 by SME 100 and Fast Enterprise Award by Asia Pacific Enterprise Award. And how we can get all this is because we set a very high standard in our industry. So we emphasize a lot on education. In fact, right, one of the interesting story that I would like to share is that recently we have been approached by one of our competitors saying that, Tip, you are sharing too much of information, right? Yeah, it's not good to the industry. To be honest, we are very transparent. Yeah, we are very open to share more with our clients. Now, next one, how are we different? Okay, earlier this year, we published our pricing on the website. So we're very consistent with our pricing. In fact, if you read the news about a few days ago, one of our competitors, yeah, there have been issue like a warning by CASE, the Consumer Association, to stop misleading with the high success rate and, pushy, giving discount to push the client to signing up. And we are definitely not like that at all. So our pricing is on the website. You can take a look at it, right? And second thing, like I mentioned, we have 2-person hand holding you throughout the entire process. Yeah. And the third one I've already mentioned as well, we don't like to use template. And the fourth one is also very important. Yeah, we will never rush client into filing an application. Some of my clients, they come on board and I tell them that, for your case, it's best to submit next year. Yeah, so be it, because that will be their best chance. So we talk about properly, okay, how we can strategize their case and build up their case before submission. And last but not least, like I mentioned, we provide more personalized attention and service. So these are some of our events. Right now, we do a lot of online events. Yeah, although we are just more than 2 years old, we are more than 2 years old, but a lot of company are working with us. We are official partner of OCBC. So if they have any clients who need Singapore immigration's help, they will actually direct to us. And why? Because we have a good reputation in our industry. So we are proud to say that we are the only firm who maintains 5-star Google review. Some of you might know Google review, right? Okay, so you can't delete bad reviews. Yeah, so it's not easy to maintain. So these are some of the proof cases. Of course, we have more updated reviews on Google. So the client was here for 12 years and got rejected 7 times. So interestingly, this client, it's a business owner, no job change, no promotion, no increment. So what changed is how we present his profile change, which is very important. Now, like Elena mentioned, we have quite a significant number of increase for our Caucasian family. So Mr. Tommaso is from Italy actually. So we would like to share a bit of case study before we, go to the questions. So case study number 1, all right. I mentioned this. He's featured in one of our successful PR story, Indian citizen working as a technical superintendent in the shipping industry. So he applied once and was rejected. He has a son, and they have been living here in Singapore for the last 4 years. Because of a lot of Indian professionals in the same industry as him, the quota is quite limited. So the challenge is to make his profile more appealing. Moreover, they have been very actively engaging, all the volunteering work. However, they are not aware that it will help them in their application. So the presentation was really so-so. So what happened is that, when they come to us, we actually advise them to actually do some investment, and then we showcase their contribution to Singapore, and they have been doing the donation and volunteering work pretty consistently and the right way as well. So, PR approved within 6 months' time, and now his son is in a local school. Right. Case study number 2, Malaysian, like me, right? Yeah, Mr. Logan, also Malaysian. So a lot of people thought Malaysian, it's very easy. So my client is Malaysian Chinese. He was a cabin crew. He's still a cabin crew for the last 7 years. So he's very confident that he's going to get it. So he applied the first time himself and rejected. Although he has been here for 7 years, but he was not very actively doing integration, except the fact that he's dating a Singaporean girlfriend. Yeah, so the rest is not so good. So we suggested the client to improve his financial commitments and do some integration efforts. And on the second attempt, without any profile change, he actually got his PR approved. And because of that, he managed to keep his job as a cabin crew. Because if you guys remember last year, right, Singapore Airlines did a huge retrenchment, and they retrenched all the work pass holder, and that's how he kept his job. So the third one, it's been here for 12 years and 7 times, just how I share. Yeah. So one of the common mistake that a lot of business owner make is that, there are good days, business is doing good, they pay themselves salary, business not good, not pay themselves salary. This is not the right way, because you are holding onto employment pass. The salary must be consistent. And moreover, the PA is someone who helped him with this application. Not familiar, was a very poor presentation. So we actually suggested the client to give some internship placement, create job opportunities, and also, increase his salary and paid consistently. Yeah, so we have submitted a much stronger application and he got his approval finally 8 attempt after 12 years. All right. So case study number 3, I'm going to pass to Elena because it's her client. Elena, please.
Thank you, Kay. Yeah, so the fourth case study, right, is actually a non-Asian. He's a French family and also in Singapore for close to Kay's previous client, 11 years. Actually, their family has a very good profile, very strong credentials, and a very high income. Their combined income is almost 40,000. Okay, for the husband and the wife, and but they still been rejected twice, despite staying here for 11 years and kids learning Mandarin, because they did not know how to present their application properly with supporting documents. So what we did in his third attempt is to really take time to understand his profile. We asked for a lot of documents. We asked him if he has been, featured in any articles, interviewed before, because it's quite a senior managerial position in a big company. So of course, eventually we are able to consolidate all his merits and strengths and submit to ICA for their consideration, and he got it in the third try. And from what I know, they are really looking for properties to purchase, and the family members in France are also very happy for them finally getting it after 12 years. And the next case study, and the last case study for the night is actually a Thai client of Sikh origin. So Sikh is actually a very small community here in Singapore, so their quota is naturally not very big as compared to the Chinese, the usual Indians, and the other communities. So what we did is, and for this client, right, they do not have any kids. So they were worried that, they have no son to actually send for national service, and he's not in one of the highly sought after industries like technology or finance, he's in HR, so on and so forth. So again, we took the time to really understand what he and his wife are doing. We emphasize on their contributions in their respective companies. For his wife, she's also holding a very niche job because she's actually a special needs teacher. So we emphasize this when I say that it is not a lot of Singaporeans who wants to be a special needs teacher, because it requires a lot of patience. You need special certifications, in order to teach at a special needs school. So in the end, they got approved in their first try. Even their colleagues cannot believe it. Like, oh, how can you get it in the very first try? And after waiting for 10 months. Yeah.
Thanks to tip. Nah, just joking. All right. A bit of personal sharing. So a lot of people ask me, right, why am I doing this? Because actually my background is I was a cabin crew before, long time back. Yeah. So now I'm doing immigration. Why? Because I was once an EP holder too. So I came to Singapore 10 years ago and I found my citizenship application last week, because, just how we emphasize like, oh, now is a good time. Now is a good time. So I'm also, I just did my citizenship application. So finger crossed. Yeah. So Elena has a side of stories to share.
Yes, of course, I'm born a Singaporean, but my mom is actually also a Malaysian who married my dad. So I actually watched how her path progressed from a long-term visit pass holder to a PR and finally a citizen. So we do understand the pains that a foreigner has to go through, the pain of going through the entire application process, how troublesome it is. So this is why I decided to venture into this industry to help more people who have been in the same situation as my mom.
Great. So, I just want to close this by offering a free consultation for those who are inquiring with us. Yeah, well, we would like to work with those who are passionate about Singapore, who proactive, because a lot of people thought that I'm paying you for the application, you have to do everything, and they are not giving us documents at all. So, you have to understand that this is your application and you have to make effort as well, right, to show that you are the best fit. So when we ask you to do volunteering works, we genuinely wants to help you, and you should help yourself as well. So what is in this one-to-one session? We're going to do an in-depth profile evaluation. We're going to share with you a very intimate knowledge that we have about ICA. It's about how ICA select a candidate, right? ICA internal selection process. We're going to give you some suggestion on how you can improve your profile, and we're going to share with you your entire journey working with us. So, I'm going to try to clear some of the question, quite a lot of question actually.
Yeah, we try to do it in 10 minutes so we don't delay everybody's dinner.
Yeah, correct. So I think the first question is in the chat, right? Upon completion of NS, if the child revokes their PR, can they remain in Singapore? Now, if the child has completed the NS, then it will not, be very obvious to the government that, oh, you are trying to escape NS, that's why you are revoking your PR. As long as, they can get a valid pass, they can remain in Singapore. Perhaps, once they renounce their PR as a PR ship, right? So they got a job and the job willing to apply for employment pass, yeah, they can still remain in Singapore as long as they have a valid pass. Yeah. So now, second question, right, from Brian. So one of the slides, right, who male who were previously a PR needs to serve the NS, right? Actually, if a child is a PR and give up before he's 16 and a half years old, yeah, he doesn't need to complete NS because he is not a Singapore PR anymore. However, right, bear in mind that it will affect his future in Singapore. No problem coming in as a tourist, but in the future, if he wants to apply for EP or PR again, it's going to be very tough. Yeah, especially after 16 and a half years old. It's very close to the age of an enlistment. So yeah, so it's going to be very dangerous that he might have a record with the MINDEF. Elena, would you like to help on the next question?
Sure. So I think Susan is asking on behalf of the audience, is the PR approvals better now in 2021? And are your chances getting PR better? So yes, definitely, because as mentioned about 180,000 jobs were lost by foreigners last year. So there's way lesser foreigners in Singapore right now, but the quota still remains the same. So you're actually looking at a much lesser competition for yourself. And this year we have seen a higher number of approvals for our own clients as well. And Singapore's population is also decreasing. So there's no better time than, 2022 to quickly file your application, especially if you know that you want to be in Singapore for the long term. Next question we have from Milton Yates. How do you define social integration and how to prove it? So there's a few ways. Of course, volunteering is one of the more traditional methods. You being a member at different clubs, associations, participating in events, communities that has a lot of Singaporeans interaction is a good way to actually help with your social integration. And how to prove it, you can get it as like getting reference letters from Singaporeans whom you know through all these activities. You can get as a proof of participation from the charity organizations, especially if you're committed to these organizations for a period of time. You have clocked in certain number of hours. All those charities, they are actually more than happy to actually issue you a letter of appreciation or proof of participation. All right, of course, there are more tips that, based on your profile, we can suggest during the one-to-one consultation.
All right, next one. How long do you actually have to live in Singapore before you can apply for your PR? Honestly, it's case-to-case basis. Yeah, I have assisted people who just clocked in 6 months here, applied for the first time and got approval. Yeah, because black and white is actually 6 months pay slip and then you can apply. However, normally for EP holder, we will encourage clients to be living here in Singapore for at least 1 to 1.5 years before they can actually apply for PR. Yeah, S pass holder might require longer stay though. So it's case to case. Now, next one is that what are the chances you get PR if you exclude your son in the application? I think I mentioned this. Yeah, so the chances is not that great, honestly. Yeah, if you were to exclude your child, unless your son is, 18 years old, studying overseas, young adult, can make his own decision. If not, we really do not recommend. It's just like what Mr. Logan said, right? You have to abide to the rules. If you have no intention, just do not apply. Yeah. Next questions. Okay, can you buy a landed property with a PR? The answer is no, unless it's a Sentosa, because Sentosa is a one unique place in Singapore that a foreigner can also buy a landed property. But other than that, only a Singaporean can buy. Yeah, unless you are Sir James Dyson, you get special permission from the government to buy because of your contribution. All right. Next question, Elena.
All right. Can families who already have PR who would like their older parents to join them in Singapore, what is the process for them? Of course, let's say if you are already a PR, you are earning a decent income, usually about 6,000 and above, you can actually sponsor your parents for a long-term visit pass so they can stay in Singapore with you. And subsequently, you can only sponsor them for PR if you are a Singapore citizen. All right. So as PR, you can actually get them to stay in Singapore with you on long-term visit pass. All right. Next question is, NS guys get salary, is that right? Maybe Zach can answer this question.
That should answer.
Yeah, so all the end, once you serve national service, you do get a salary, but depending on your rank, depending on how much do you get, like an officer, sergeant, or a corporal. Yeah, maybe I can answer the second one as well. So can the men who have gone through NS pursue a career in the military, like the Air Force or the Navy? Yes, you can. You need to sign on for like a 5 years contract. But within the roles, there'll be the interviews and selection process. Yeah, okay.
Oh, the next one, I think I need your help too, Zed. Now I need to clarify one thing that some of the question it might be better for you guys to ask MINDEF directly, because it has been many years since Zed completed his national service. Yeah, so there are things that might change as well, right? So this is quite specific. If the son, PR son now lives overseas and has to come back to do his 2 weeks NS, does he has to organize his own weekend accommodation, or can he stay in the camp? Any ideas that?
From what I know, let's say their relatives, they'll be able to stay with their relatives, or they'll need to arrange their own accommodation. But let's say if they don't have any accommodation, of course they'll be feel free to stay in the camp if they wish to. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing to add, because again, my husband is also NSF, right, of the army. So if you stay in the camp, staying in the camp is also subjected to approval. All right, this one you really have to check with MINDEF, because the law is case by case basis. We cannot answer on MINDEF's behalf. But there's some rules, like Zed also is familiar, like there's no Wi-Fi, it's quite inconvenient. They also restrict a curfew. You have to be back in camp by certain timing. So most people, right, would prefer to rent their own accommodation because they just enjoy the freedom.
All right, the next question, is there a financial penalty if your son, PR, residing abroad, give up his PR before age 16? No, there's no financial penalty. Yeah, correct. Especially, right, if you give up your PR, okay, you are not actually you have no obligation for the PR for the national service requirement anymore. Yeah, so there's nothing. But if let's say like what Zed mentioned, right, a born Singaporean, and then you have benefited from the citizenship, and you decided that you want to renounce, you still have to do the national service. Yeah. All right, next one. Can a son who have given up his PR can ever live in Singapore in the future? Now, for this one, right, I would like to advise based on our experience as well. Yeah. What we have observed is that if you do the renunciation before age 13 years old, right, the chances that you have a record with MINDEF is extremely low. Yeah, especially, right, if let's say it's a family decision, right, okay, and then the family decided that, moving out together, and the kids are still very young, the boy is still very young, below age 13, then, we have seen successful cases whereby they have actually gotten their EP again. Yeah, but if you're too close, to the age of, that you have to enroll in this NS, right? Okay, and then you have a tick with MINDEF, then, it will be very tough to ever get EP or even PR. Coming in as a tourist, no problem. So I hope I answer these questions. Yeah. Now, next one, PR family with son, is there a maximum age at which PR renunciation should happen? Oh, I just mentioned about this, right? So it's before 13 years old, and, do not try to renounce only for the son and save for the rest, it's not good like that. If it's a family decision, then, yeah, your son, the possibility of your son coming back to Singapore, it will be higher. All right. Now, next question, Elena, would you like to answer the favorite questions?
Sure. What is our PR application success rate? Well, this is really hard to say because everyone has a different profile. And one thing to share is that actually no consultancies in Singapore keep track of the application success rate because the approvals is sent to the applicants directly. So there are some cases whereby, clients, after they got approved, they went to complete the formalities on their own without telling us, thinking that, oh, they don't have to bother about us anymore, or they shouldn't bother us anymore. So nobody can actually keep track of their actual success rate. All right. And at the same time, we don't want to mislead anyone thinking that we have very high success rate, even if our own success rate is really high, because it may not represent your own actual chances, because everyone has a different profile. So in order to know what is your own success rate, I think you should come for the consultation so we can evaluate, your profile and give you a customized advice, suggestions on how to further increase your chances and what is the probability that you're looking at. This will be much better than getting a blanket success rate that may not accurately represent your true chances. All right, so I think we have answered all the questions in slightly over 10 minutes. That's great. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and I'll maybe let Kay conclude today's session.
Yeah, thanks, Elena. Thanks, Zed. I think we did okay. Yeah. So I saw that there is some question that Susan gave it to us before the session itself, and what we can do is we can send everyone a recording and answer to all the question that you guys asked. So we covers everything because now it's already 7:35. So we reckon that maybe you guys need to take your dinner as well. So thanks again, everyone. Yeah, so if let's say you miss out the QR code to book a consultation with us, don't worry. We are very easy to find. Just Google the immigration people, or you can just key in www.tip.com.sg and you can book a one-to-one session with us. Thank you so much. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.